There we go.
I'll call the meeting of the Portland Commerce Advisory Board to order. I ask you to mute your cell phones and remove your hats. And Dwayne, could you lead us in the pledge?
Yes, sir. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, will the clerk call the roll?
Roll call. Scudder.
Here.
Regis.
Here.
Miller's excused. Atwood.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Groom.
Here.
And Chair Jaffa.
Here.
Okay, you have a quorum.
Oh, that's great. Thank you all for attending. I don't see anyone in the audience that wants to comment, and we don't have any electronic commenters, so we'll move on to approval of the agenda and consent agenda. Approved by consent. I'll let the clerk read that, but we'll need a motion.
I move to. Go ahead.
Have a motion and a second? Okay.
Okay.
All right. Any comments on the?
I have one.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious, I'm not sure, because I think things changed, but it probably didn't get on here, but under 5B it says resolutions, but we have also resolution of new business. So is that supposed to move, or is the one going to disappear? Just trying to clarify is all.
Good question.
That's just saying that there's no resolutions on the consent agenda, but there is one resolution
So
under
that's just consent?
new business.
That's just consent? Okay, thank you.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, and any other comments on the agenda? So will the clerk call for the vote?
The vote for the consent of the approval of agenda and consent agenda. Groom.
Yes.
Scudder.
Yes.
Regis.
Yes.
Atwood.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
And Chair Jaffa.
Yes. All right, so our agenda is approved and our first,
But just 1 second, Chair Jaffa. So just read out the paper.
So the approval of agenda and consent agenda are approval of the September 4th, 2024 PACCAB meeting minutes.
very good. So now we've all been exposed to the proper order, and I think that's good, a good way to proceed. So item 6 under special orders. Proclamations and awards, none. City administration report, I think, assistant manager.
Yeah, you guys can see that the city manager report that goes to council is enclosed in this, and so I'm happy to answer any questions as I can on it.
Questions? So, the posting of these, obviously, we're getting a look at them, you'll present them to council. How does the general public get a look at this? If they don't come to a council meeting, do they still have access to these reports?
Yeah, they do have access. I mean, they have access to the reports. They are a public document, but we're going to get into it in a little bit that we have kind of more of a public-facing newsletter that's built up from this news that does go out to the public, and so we'll actually be hearing about that a little bit later today.
That's on the agenda?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I ask a question on the parking? It says making a list of improvements to implement next season. I'd heard some concerns from citizens and harbor users about some maybe inconsistent enforcement or getting tickets when they had their permit displayed and things like that. Is that in regards to complaints or anything else? No?
Not that I'm aware of. I do think that at the beginning of the season it was a little, I mean, as we're adjusting to kind of some like new ways of what we're doing thing, whether it be like new rules or enforcement, I think there's always a few hiccups, and I know that they were very lenient at the beginning, especially for just kind of people who work there and harbor users for If you show your harbor pass, or else a lot of times I think even too that if you purchased a harbor pass, they would just take off your ticket type of thing at the beginning. But we also heard a lot of really positive feedback because that center lot was now open for people that were in there for 2 hours to be able to go into local businesses and buy things or just run down the docks real quick and come back up. So we got a lot of positive feedback at the end, and so yeah, I just think it was at the beginning it was a little bumpy there as to be
Yeah.
expected, but I haven't heard any.
Yeah,
Feedback.
there was a user group that had some concerns. I recommended that they compile them and send them to the city for reviews.
Yep.
Thanks.
Yep.
Couple of questions, if I
Yep.
could. Just a couple of things on the report. The building permits issued for this year so far, 38 of them totaling a little over, $3.9 million. Are those building permits that are generating like new business, or is there any information you can share on those?
I couldn't tell you. That's just, it's from the building departments.
Okay.
So I
that's
mean,
just
you could contact the fire department, the building department if you wanted to get more information there.
Okay. The next question I have under the community development, the conditional use permit for the former Oriental Garden Restaurant, wanting to turn that into a hotel. I see that it was denied. What's the next step? Do they have the opportunity to come back and try to come up with a plan for parking, or how is that going to work?
On this, normally when a conditional use permit is denied, they have so much time to appeal. Then the appeal board is the city council. I believe that window has since passed. So which means that they will need to come up with kind of like a significantly different like conditional use permit plan to go ahead and
So they have to basically kind of start back and redesign.
yeah. So
I had one. The comprehensive plan development, will that ultimately strictly be a council decision, or will P&Z be involved with that at all? Or?
planning and zoning is heavily involved in that. They're actually they're by city code. I think I don't know if it's in the charter or if it's the code or both, but they're the ones that are work around developing that document. So right now they are getting really close to having the kind of a pretty comprehensive public questionnaire for public participation getting ready. And so what they will do is they're working through all of that, and then ultimately a council will then be able to kind of have, like, they'll bring a very good draft to them on that document, and then council is ultimately the one that can make the final adjustments. But that will be a bit down the road. I think it's going to probably take a good part of this year for them to reshape that. So
That was my follow-up question, if there's a target date or a milestone date.
yeah, I don't know if there's a target date for sure at this point, but I think they'll be in that. Once that, I think it's next month that those surveys will come out, and that will kind of obviously be like the beginning of that process. So.
All right, very good. Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you. We'll move on to Alaska Railroad report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, so it's a relatively brief report. One amendment I wanted to mention is that the Newer Dam, the ship that was scheduled to dock here in Seward tomorrow, is bypassed. So our 2024 cruise ship schedule is down to one remaining ship, and that's the Regatta on October 14th. And then we'll be moving on to cargo and other operations through there. That's all I have.
All right, questions from the board? I'd asked, well, I guess it's the railroad. There was a ship that was from Seattle into Southeast that was not able to dock. I think there was one because of weather and another one because of some kind of illness on board. It made me wonder whether there's a possibility that any of those coast-wide boats would be coming to Seward or be looking to come to Seward. There's also, I think Skagway has voted a $7 or $9 a head tax on people landing at their harbor. So any of those things have an impact on our harbor?
We're obviously open to having vessels that are not on the cruise line agency calendar approach and, get dock space when it's available. So yeah, we're open to that possibility. Now, if you're talking about having vessels come when there's no dock space and there's then going to be, lightering and other operations and involve the harbor, that's another question entirely.
That wouldn't have anything to do with your dock, though, if they were to tie up out.
Right,
Yeah.
well, again, it depends on what they're doing, if they're going to be taking material, they could possibly utilize our docks, even though they don't tie up. I'm not, and I don't know if I guess Harbor Master could weigh in on this, if they're moving passengers to shore, if that's an operation that would take place potentially through the harbor.
There has been some interest in that. I think in 2026, we had someone reach out to us as that possibility for that.
Yeah.
I've seen in Nome where they lightered everybody in. And so it's not an impossible or totally out of the realm thing.
It's happened here in Seward one time before, about 7, 8 years ago. I think the weather was so bad they couldn't get into the dock, and we did all luggage and all people through the boat harbor.
Even our dock was inaccessible.
The wind was blowing so hard the ship couldn't come in. And we lightered everybody and the bags in through the boat harbor and then back out. And I want to say it was maybe even further back, maybe a decade back.
Could you speak at all, Dwayne, to the progress or the status of the harbor project? I know the contractor is gearing up to use some of the upland space and.
Well, yeah, so the dock improvement project, so what we have right now is a schedule where the current terminal building and cruise dock are scheduled for demolition following the 25 cruise ship season. So we're not really looking at that taking place until October, a year from now. And we do, though, have plans for a terminal building, which is to be approximately 3 times larger than the current terminal building, immediately north. And Turnagain Marine has indicated that they'll be doing some utility relocates and surveying this autumn. So we have fuel line infrastructure, water line infrastructure. So there'll be some earthwork taking place. I don't anticipate that the foundation or footing for the new terminal building is going to be worked on this autumn.
It's moving forward, so.
Yes, it's all in progress.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, good, thank you very much. So we don't have Samantha, but we have Melissa for the chamber report.
Yeah, I mean, it's all pretty much here. The chamber is moving forward, finishing up the summer season and moving right into fall. I know the chamber staff is working on developing some activities for Seward Winter Weekends, which is the intent is to bring in people into Seward in the winter to help with that economy and continue that year-round business for all of our business owners in Seward, chamber members or not. Halloween week sounds like it's going to be a pretty fun week for anybody interested in participating in that. Downtown Harbor Trick or Treat is always fun. They usually send out little flyers you can put in your window if you want to encourage those little youngsters to come in and trick or treat, which is always fun as a downtown business. I love to watch them come in their little costumes. So Entrepreneurship Week, that's going to be a really fun-filled week as well, open to the public. Chamber members are not, and as you can see, they've got quite a few different events planned for that, including First National is going to have a Meet Your Lender at First National Bank on Thursday, and then they've got the Monday Mixer, at the Tidewater Tap House, choosing the right business entity at the Rowdy Radish, which is the new coffee shop down where it used to be
CB.
CB, yes, thank you. Ladies who launch at Primrose Provision and then buying and selling a business at the Breeze Inn. And Kellyanne Cavaretta is the one who's spearheading that, and the Chamber's working in partnership with the Small Business Development Center to make that happen. And then they're working on their hometown guide and reprint and the visitor's guide. So the hometown guide, again, is another one of those documents that are intended to support all businesses in Seward, not just tourism-related businesses. And then, of course, the Chamber is still seeking for support from PACAB and other community business people and residents to help support that need for the funding from the city and the bed tax money that we've been utilizing for the last several years, since 1995. So that's about all I have on that.
Okay. Questions? Was the chamber involved with the Girls on Bikes movie at all?
No, not that I'm
Okay.
aware of, no.
We'll talk about that after. Okay, so that takes care of the chamber conference, and we have presentations by the city clerk on the city website and e-notifications.
Okay, thank you, Chair Jaffa. Go ahead and start that timer, Jody. All right.
Let me ask you something.
Oh, sure.
Item 2 is a presentation by the city manager on the newsletter. Are these two things separate, or?
There are two separate presentations.
Okay, all
That
right.
one will actually be presented by Ashley.
Okay, all right, so, go ahead, please.
Can you switch me over to the other slide for YouTube?
Oh, gosh.
Okay, so I'd like to draw your attention to the big screen TV. Thank you, Norm. And I'm going to do a little demo on some improvements and new ways that we're utilizing the city website. And this kind of will tie into your community communications agenda item. So from the home page of the city website, on the city council blue dot, we have the city council meeting packets, the city council agenda, and then there's the council calendar that's posted every week on Wednesday. And I realize this is kind of a boring black and white document with no photos, but there's some great information in here where you can see the most recent results from a council meeting or any boards and commissions meeting, as well as the upcoming agendas for the meetings next week. So you'll see your own PACAB agenda in here the week before the meeting. And then there's a list of upcoming meetings, other information as needed, like for the election, public hearing items for council and planning and zoning, board commissions and city representative vacancies. And then for the paper copies that are posted around town on bulletin boards, we've added these QR codes so you can scan them with your phone and it'll take you straight to the meeting page on the city website. And then for the PACAB meeting page, we're now posting these directly onto the city website. And so we have the agenda separately if you just wanted to take a look at it and not open up the whole packet. And then here is the nice packet that Ashley has prepared for us. And in the agenda, each of the items has a link, so if you wanted to just look at the resolution, you could click on it and it takes you straight to the resolution on page 20. And that goes for all the items on here. If you wanted to look at the minutes, you could just click on it and it'll take you straight to page 4. So that's a lot of different sections of the website that we're using to post this information. And what ties it all together now is this new feature where people can subscribe to the topics that they're interested in. So these are email notifications. So you type in your email. And then you can choose your own topics, so you can customize it kind of to your heart's content about which ones you want notifications about. So I've subscribed to everything. So if you subscribe to PACCAP, for example, you'll get an e-notification when the packet goes on the website. If you subscribe to the council calendar, you'll get a notification when that calendar is posted, and then you can view all the agendas and that type of thing that I just showed you. City manager, there's a newsletter that's gaining a lot of popularity. Ashley will speak to that next. And then we have other categories like general news, road closures, emergency alerts, RFPs and bids, library and museum. So you can always log in and customize your preferences at any time just from that subscription button at the top of the website. And then also up here we have legislative history and city code. So those links are real easy to find if you wanted to look into something. You can go straight to our city code website and you can either browse the titles on the left or search for the topic that you're interested in. And that is about the end of my demo. I can go ahead and stop the timer, Jody. I'm happy to answer questions at this point.
Questions?
Sorry.
Go ahead.
One question. Let's say we get the email notification that the PACCAP packet's, been prepared. Is the notification going to include an active link, or do we have to then go to the web page and find it?
It will include an active link to the web page, and I think it would also include a direct link to the PDF itself. Like it will take you straight to the packet. Too many tabs open.
I have 3. And 10 slides ago, there was a box that came up with requests for information or something to that. It went by very quickly. But is there a link for people to send comments to the administration or to the clerk in this?
Request for
You have the
information.
clerk email that's in there.
There's the citizen feedback welcome.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, that's part of the council calendar. We just encourage people to write in for council, P&Z, PACCAB, and historic preservation to clerk@cityofseward.net, and then we forward on their message.
Okay.
Just to make it easier for the public, rather than trying to email all the board members directly, they can just use that one clerk email and we'll take care of it from there.
The next is this QR code business. If you put that screen up there with that QR code, I can somehow take my telephone up there and take a picture of that, and then that'll take me to a website? Is that the way that works? Sorry, I'm ignorant about it, but
These are kind of a mix of old school technology and new school technology, in the sense that they're still printed on paper and posted on the 4 bulletin boards around town. So that's kind of like the old school format for posting these. But if you're at the, say, post office and you see this posted, or out on our bulletin board in the hallway there, you could hold your phone up to that QR code and the camera will take you to the, that PACCAB meeting page that I just showed you, where you can see the packet.
So, for the clerk, there used to be a time where public notices, there was a prescription for public notices. And the newspapers, for instance, were hired or paid to post those notices. One of the things that impacted the business model of businesses, that didn't happen anymore. I know other places where we have to have public postings, paper public postings. So is there a move in state law, or does this posting follow state law, or is it strictly code, city code?
It follows our city code. You can see in the footer that it's posted at the usual 4 locations. So there's City Hall, Post Office, the Harbor Master's office, and the library.
So that still happens?
That still happens.
think you covered the third one as well.
I have a question. Back to the subscriptions. I feel like in the past, if we subscribe, we would get the email with the actual packet included in the email as a PDF, which could sometimes be pretty large. If we subscribe now, we're not going to get the actual packet emailed to us. We just click on the link and it takes us to the website, correct?
Correct, and there's two separate audiences here. You being a board member are going to get emails directly from us with your meeting materials, and this subscription service is more for the general public who just wants to follow along to the boards and commissions.
Right, and in the past, when I subscribed as a general public, let's say the city council agenda, I would get the actual PDF with a link that says you can also download it at the city website. So you're not gonna send out PDFs to the general public anymore. It's just gonna be the link to the.
Right, they're just links to what's posted on the city website.
Okay.
And they all come from City of Seward. It doesn't differentiate really with who's sending it. So like right now, the clerk's office is using it, city manager's office is using it. They're all going to say City of Seward. But then we'll try to personalize it within the message so you know who it's coming from.
Okay, so follow-up question to that. What kind of cautions is the city taking to ensure that these emails aren't spoofed or intercepted and spam email being sent out? There's so much fraud nowadays. It's very easy to just change one letter in an email address and put in a link that takes you to like malware. And I'm not an expert on this. I just in my line of work I have to deal with it a lot. So is the city putting out any kind of educational information to subscribers, or what's the plan for that?
I could ask our IT department about that, but they worked very closely with us in setting this up, and it's all done through the city website, so I trust them that it's secure. But I can follow up with them just to see if there's any risks of, imposter type emails.
Okay, thank you.
Had one follow-up. The calendar that's put out, there's no link to someone's personal calendars that actually, I guess you call it annotate by calendar with the meeting date, because right now, every two weeks, it shows up, but that's not always the case. So if there's a short month or long month, does the calendar all link to like a Google Calendar or anything like that?
So Chair Droff, I'm not sure if we're talking about the same calendar, because there's a lot of calendars, but the council calendar that I publish is once a week on Wednesday.
There's a forward-looking calendar. I don't know if it's in this packet or not.
Okay, so you're referring to the one at the back of the
that shows meeting
packet?
dates, right. Is there any way to link that to a personal calendar?
No, this is just exported as a PDF. It's not, there's no active links in here or anything.
And that's not in any of this?
Correct.
Okay.
This is something that we include in the back of council packets, and now we're starting to do it with back packets as well. It's just a kind of a heads up of the meetings that are coming up in the next 2 or 3 months.
No, very helpful. Thank you. All right. Any other questions for the clerk? All right. Well, I think it's a heck of an effort. And I guess as technology develops and changes, you'll modify or update or as necessary.
Yeah, it's always a work in progress, but just wanted to give you an update at where we're at right now.
All right, so city manager newsletter.
So just like the computer over there.
Well, thank you. Switch our screen there for the viewing public. Yeah, I'm really pleased to be able to go. Do I need this one? This one's fine. I'm really pleased to go through this with you today because there's been a lot of talk about community communications, which is really important. And also, it's just been really fun for me to make, so I'm happy to show it off. As Mr. Clerk had told told you, if you subscribe, it can be sent right to your inbox, which is great. Just click on that city manager button through this link, but you can also navigate to the city manager newsletter by going to the departments, and it's first thing. So right down here, city manager, we've got our 3 appointed officials, and then it's in alphabetical order after that, but you can get right to the newsletter here. And then what's great about accessing it this way is you've got past editions if you want to look at something. They're all listed here. The look of this page might change as we're running out of room to just add more links, which is great. And to your question earlier, Chair Jaffa, about whether the public has access, and as our deputy city manager had said, yeah, we draw heavily in the newsletter from the city manager report. But that said, anyone can contribute items, and we love getting stuff from the public, and any new stuff and photos are always appreciated. I won't guarantee that I will put what is contributed in the newsletter, obviously, but we haven't gotten so many submissions I've had to make any hard calls. So today I'll just go through the newsletter with you, and I've chosen to do September 7th, even though this is our most recent full edition, right here. And this bounces you to the Canva platform, which is, that's the graphic design platform that we make the city newsletter on. So that link will always just take you there. It'll take a couple seconds, but if you're impatient like me, you can just click on it. So, has anybody seen this? Show of hands? No? Nobody's seen this? Great, so we'll have 6 new subscribers at the end of this meeting. That's really exciting for me. Here's a great, this is also a great one to showcase, just Seward Pride, right? Look at the field, that's a great
Beautiful.
photo. Chris took that, of course, because it's from a mountain. Some photo credit as needed there. And then you can see we have our date, and this is kind of the same. We use a different cover photo to keep it interesting. And then we have a little blurb from the city manager, since the newsletter is the brainchild of our city manager, Kat. And then I've been in this role since May, and I've pretty much taken over releasing the city newsletter. So I guess you'd call me the editor. And so this is, you know, this is similar to what she talks about in the CMR. And it's pretty interesting. She might talk about what's going on in legislation or her own travels. And this is a really nice one because she's talking about what's happening with the electric department and splitting of the bills. So it's pretty, sometimes it's just, you know, what's up, and sometimes it's really informative what customers can do. So that's always the first thing after the cover photo. And then she's always been really great about making herself available, and emails right there for the public. And then we kind of move down, and we have our like feature stories. So I guess this would be like front page above the fold. Seward High School athletic field. We got this from the principal?
Yeah,
Yeah,
from Dr. Burns at the high school.
Dr. Byrne, thank you. I was thinking Hemstock. But we also, this is a flyer that they created, and we really love it when we just get a flyer because it's got all the information that's been vetted. So we just include that right in the newsletter, and then I've created a little bit of text here. I probably should have made this part bigger. Yeah, and so that's just, yeah. And then here's our second feature. Who doesn't love a before and after picture? Seward Parks and Rec has been doing a great job refurbing parks. And so we had, you'll see this later too, the old Anchor, and then their superstar painter refurbished it. And so then that's just like a little, hey, look what's going on in Seward. Pretty nice, huh? And then this is where we get into each city department has their own page. So we've got the Community Library and Museum. We've been advertising the Americans in the Holocaust exhibit quite a lot, and that's just a little blurb on specifically an exhibition on Harry Kawabe, who was a Seward resident that was hauled off to an internment camp. And then we have the fire department page. This one's actually a pretty fun page to make because they always have great pictures from their trainings. This comes right out of the CMR, as we kind of talked about it earlier. And what's nice about the digital platform for the newsletter is that it's very, updatable, and we're always trying to do things better. It came up in one of the city council meetings. Mike Calhoun asked, okay, there's 350 fire calls, but how many of them were actually fires? And so Clinton responded with that, and now you'll see in the new newsletter, it actually says emergency calls instead of fire calls. And so this is them, thanks to Glacier Towing, they're practicing their extrication skills. And then sometimes these guys even get 2 pages because they've got so much going on. Parks and Rec typically has 2 pages too, so we're just looking at their disc golf tournament. Great group photo there, kids ballet. And then back to the digital format being a little bit more nimble. For lack of sign up, unfortunately the fun run was canceled, and so I was able to update the newsletter and then republish it. So everybody that clicked on it the first day that it came out, they wouldn't have this information available to them, but then we are able to update it, which is a little bit better than you can do with a typical newspaper. And then it's really important too, this is full of links here, there's one, and it'll always load in a separate, oh, it's not going to do it now because it's the wrong calendar because it's October. But those links are always updated. So what's really nice about this is it's not just a newsletter, but lots of clickable links that get you places. Electric utility, just public service, talking about service requests. So that's really nice. Just a great way to get that information. If you want new or temporary service, you got to get it done by September 20th. Harbor happenings. This was a little bit of a light news week for the harbor, but they switched to their winter hours, so we made a point of that. This is a great photo of the harbor. Finance, you'll see a lot of new faces at the utility counter, and we were just letting the public know that we're cross-training. Public Works had a great spread in this newsletter with lots of great pics. As you probably remember from council meetings, Doug Schessler, our director, got invited to our sister tunnel city in Washington to look at what their tunnel is that goes through Mud Mountain. It's very similar to Seward's tunnel. And so we got some great photos here. And so little captions to tell you what's going on. Police department, really great about advertising for the animal shelter, but Chief Nickel might contribute what's going on around town or things he wants to warn you about. We had a contribution from Regina at the DMV letting us know that road tests were back up and running, and about this awesome new artistic license plate that you can get. So DMV doesn't always have a page, but as we get more information from her, I think it's a great way to, besides just a paper sign on the door saying when the DMV is going to be open, we can actually put this out to the public. And then we've been trying to feature little animals at the animal shelter to adopt, just to keep it light. I think honey's still available if you're interested in this cute little face. And then we've got a tech bite, or basically a tech tip from IT. And so that always has some helpful little thing in it. Community development, this is a little bit text heavy for community development today, but they're just talking about their comp plan and what happened at P&Z and a little advertisement for the Mural Society. And then this is a really great page for the City of Seward. Join our team. It's full of great links. So you can see all of the employment opportunities by clicking on that link. You can go right to the application by clicking on that link. I'm going to close these so I don't get out of control. And then go back here.
What are you clicking on?
So this,
just a paragraph?
You can tell it's a link usually because
it's
underlined, although we make it really obvious by found here. But maybe, look at this. Oh, wow, that's a link too. So you can just click around, see what you get. But yeah, typically, Chairman, you get a link, you'll see it underlined. And then you can contact Tammy directly. I'm going over, I'm doing it. And then here's our featured job postings. And then this is a link, and then also the picture is a link. And then finally back down to, this page is always our last page, and it's just telling you about upcoming council meetings. And then I've added my information here, and if you want to send contributions. So just, it's a new way that we're getting the information out to the public. I think it's been happening since February, so it's like we're improving on it, getting better all the time, and yeah. My time's up, so I won't go over the special edition.
You have all the time you need.
Oh, all right, well then we'll just look at it really quick. Since I'm kind of proud of it, and then we've got a special guest in here I want y'all to see. So it's gonna transfer you there, or you can just click on that link. We heard at the council meeting from the mayor that despite all our efforts, some people had heard that they didn't know voting was taking place, so we took it upon ourselves to quick throw out a special edition, which came out the same week as the regular newsletter, but that's okay, that's what made it special. And then who's this? Who's this city official here? Anybody recognize this guy? And so we told them all the voting information. And then since it was a special edition and there was only so much voting information, we just threw in some Touch-A-Truck was happening. So we got that out there. We got some competitive leagues, Sports and Rec. They are awesome with making these flyers. And then Teen Hour from Resart. So we just kind of wanted to throw in some stuff that didn't make the regular edition, and then we always keep that page just for the public. And then, anyway, I just wanted to give you that, showcase that. I just think it's so cute. All right, there you go. Yeah, so I hope I have 6 new subscribers.
Wow. Okay, we'll bring it to the board. Questions for Ashley? Comments?
Just one question. So the publications bi-monthly, is that the schedule now? What's the news cycle?
Yeah, I try to release it in tandem with the city council meeting. So the meeting happens on Monday, and I endeavor to get the newsletter out on Friday. It doesn't always happen. The last one came out on council Monday, but you can expect it kind of in that time frame.
The Friday before or the Friday?
The Friday before, yeah.
Okay. All right, well, clearly a lot of work went into the development of this. I assume there's a template for each department to hit certain bullet points, or, you know, what's happening this month, what's critical, or is it just a free expression from each department?
Well, you know, I use the city manager's report as a guide, but since this is for public consumption and the city manager's report is, can have some, you know, pretty specific things to city departments, not that anyone might not find that interesting, but it might not be relevant to them. So I tend to pick out what I think is kind of most interesting to the public. And as you noted, that is, I mean, if they want the whole city manager report, they can always access that online.
So you're acting as the editor for all the stuff that comes in?
I am acting as the editor I publish what departments want in the city manager report. Everything that they want goes in there, and then I kind of am a little bit more selective when it comes to the newsletter.
And I suspect that you're careful not to have factual information rather than any kind of opinion or promotion.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
It also appeared that, except for the very last slides where it was some sort of recreational activity, everything was government oriented. It was either the city government or I think probably the city's participation at the Avtech Gym, which is a state organization, but there was a little bit outside of the city proper, but nothing saying that, you know, ABC Flower Shop opened up downtown. So.
Yeah, I don't expect that we'll ever advertise for businesses, but it can reach outside of government. We had another special edition, which I hope you'll all look at, where I showcased the bear-proof trash cans. So it's points of interest, but yeah, we're keeping it non-promotional.
How far out of the city boundaries will you go? You've got obviously the Bear Creek, which has a huge population, and my community of Moose Pass. So how far outside of the city boundaries will you be looking for contributions or input?
I think we could go as far as Moose Pass. And after you subscribe today, I expect the entire community of Moose Pass will subscribe, so.
We'll work on it. Yeah. Okay. And lastly, roughly how much time, don't take this wrong, I mean, it's an important service, but how much time is each department going to have to spend to provide this information in a bite size, in a presentable form?
They're already providing this information for the city manager report, so there's no additional time on department heads.
Okay.
Question about the splash page there with listings of all the reports. Is it like where you have special edition, that's pretty helpful. Is it possible to do like a summary of the key topics for each one? It's a big length of dates if you're trying to find a specific record.
Yeah, that's a really good suggestion. As we go forward with IT kind of managing that page, I'll keep that in mind. I hadn't given it any thought before now.
Looks great, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
All right, well, thank you, Ashley, and for the city, I appreciate your effort. Okay, so we'll go back on the agenda items. We have a discussion, for the Alaska Municipal League attendance. And on page 18, you can see that December 9th through the 13th at the Nye Center in Anchorage. There's a list of the days and the different opportunities. The training session is something that some of our new board members have been interested in, as well as some of the other activities. Can I ask the assistant manager to speak to this just a little bit, the benefit to the board sending someone to this conference?
Yeah, sure. And I think in the past we've sent one, sometimes maybe two. But I think that during certain times they have a lot of breakout sessions where you go and you can hear about what's going on in a lot of other communities, a lot of times by topic. I know that Commissioner Smith and myself attended a number of ones that were interesting. Sometimes it's related to like alternative energy or housing issues, business. I mean, what we experience here in Seward is not unique to any other community, and a lot of times in Alaska. And so it's good to get in a room with people and hear about either what's new and coming out, if someone's introducing a topic or talking about something that could affect your community, or also to just getting in the room and hearing from other communities about problems and how they're addressing them. And so I do think, and Commissioner Smith can probably speak to, you know, not you go into some and you can't do all at once, but I mean, if you go in, maybe you might have 5 sessions, and I think you could probably find nuggets in 3 out of the 5 that you're like, okay, this is good learning and will help me. So I don't know. Commissioner Smith wants to talk about it.
Generally agree with everything you just said. Another aspect of that is that it lets you know who's doing what in the state, and it kind of brings things current, what contractors, what vendors, what different funding sources are being used, and lets you kind of get a feel for what's possible. So I definitely found it helpful, and highly recommend PACAP be part of that.
When do we need to register the attendee?
It looks like the deadline there's Saturday, November 2nd for getting it on the group hotel rate, which is kind of like the key piece to it. And I think that aligns with like the registration there as well.
So we don't have the selection of that attendee on the agenda. We're just discussing it. Is that correct?
You could make the selection today if you'd like.
Is there anybody, I'll right offhand, Norm, have you been to this thing, haven't you?
I have. I thought we discussed this and you were gonna go.
Okay, I'm going then.
That's what I thought we discussed.
Yeah, I thought we
last
had
meeting.
to, but
I think Bruce said he would go if nobody else would.
That's what I think what I said.
I have attended in the past myself as well, so my suggestion would be, if you are interested, certainly go. If someone who has never attended is interested, then that we might benefit that way. I don't know if anyone on this panel has not attended.
Jesse?
I have not attended, but
Neither have I.
I have a tentative prior commitment that I might, I won't know until Wednesday of next week if I would be able to go.
Now, I have an ocular appointment in December at some point, so,
I have not attended, and I would be interested to learn more about it, but I would have to check with my work
we could
schedule.
send two. And typically, when I go to any of these events, I go at my own expense. So if we had a budget for at least one attendee, that two of us could go. Is that correct?
I believe so. Clerk, Mr. Clerk, do you know about where those expenses, are those?
I don't recall if it's in the budget for 2 board members to go, but maybe that's a thing we could look into.
Yeah.
It would only be the registration primarily and one housing issue.
Right, yeah.
I mean, I don't have to go if it's already been.
When can we firm that up? If we've already talked about it, as Norm said, and I'm one, and if Melissa has a schedule availability and we wanted 2, when would we have to firm that? Before November, correct?
Correct.
Why don't we talk after the meeting, Melissa, and then get back to Chris? Would the clerk be the one that needs to know this?
I would say keep myself and Ashley in the loop.
Okay. Yeah, Norm.
I believe when we did this a while back, there should be enough in there for 2 people to go to the thing. in the
I thought
budget.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so. Okay. So the next topic is discuss community communications. And we started to get into that a little bit, so I think Jason's got something for us.
I do?
Didn't you?
No.
What's community communication beyond what we've already talked about?
At the last PACAD meeting, you had, Chairman asked to continue it at the next meeting, so we added it to the agenda.
Well, this is, you covered a good part of it.
Okay, great.
From the city's perspective. I still have deep concern, and I see it. I think some of you are aware that the radio station put on a town hall the other night, and it was poorly announced, sort of what last minute announced, and may not have been fully, the invitations may not have been as broad as they should have been. It was an attempt, though. But as a result of some things that have happened recently, I did a deep dive into, within my capability of keystrokes, looking at everything that said Seward Community on Facebook and YouTube. And there's a ton of things. And most of them are either old, like Linda Paquette did a great job, but she hasn't posted for 9 months or a year. Others are not current, or they're not talking to each other. So I'm just really concerned generally about community communication, and everywhere I go, I suggest people come to council meetings, but this newsletter is a shortcut to that. So I think promoting this in a broad spectrum, not just at city meetings, I think we need to figure out a way to do that. Yeah,
Word of mouth is a great way too, so.
Well, we have Moose Pass Messenger, Cooper Landing has the Crier, both of those have their blogs, I guess, essentially, but they still have a pretty good audience.
Okay.
Yeah, I said this the other night at the town meeting, well, I don't want, that's probably, let's say that.
Is there a QR code to the newsletter,
Oh,
like posted at the post office?
No. no, that's a good suggestion.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, well, I think we covered that, unless there's any other thoughts on it. You know, this is coming from, my wife was an award-winning journalist and photographer for Bev Dunham, and in those days, that newspaper provided the service that this did. They interviewed the manager and the mayor, and then put those interviews out in the public. But we're in a different era. Okay, new business. We have a resolution 2024-002. Do we have the clerk read that first, or do we ask for a motion first?
I can read the resolution and then you
Please.
can make a motion.
Please.
Resolution 2024-002, recommending city council reinstate the allocation of 50% of the previous year's bed tax to the Seward Chamber of Commerce for marketing services.
I move to approve resolution 2024-002.
There's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second. Discussion?
I just have a question.
A question?
As a member of the Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors, should I abstain from voting on this?
I think the chair would take the acknowledgement that you are on the board, and you could recuse yourself from a vote should the board agree to that, but you could speak for the council.
Okay, then I should probably
Is that-
recuse myself.
When there's an objection, or when there's a conflict of interest, a potential conflict of interest, it is up to the group to decide. And the chair can make a decision, but this chair wouldn't make the decision without consensus of the board. Norm?
She has no personal money coming into her, and that's what the conflict of interest is, so I don't see one for her, I think she should be allowed to vote.
Okay.
I would concur. I was just going to ask about any financial benefit. I don't know what that threat would be, so I would be in agreement.
So it would be the decision of the chair to decide that you have no conflict of interest.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so discussion on the amendment. This was something that when Samantha Allen was here at the last meeting, we talked a little bit about the position of the chamber. I did talk to her on the phone, and I think communicated with her and Melissa by emails about creating a resolution that Melissa has provided. For those of you who were on the board a number of years ago, this change wasn't that long ago, that the compensation for the chamber was arrived at in a different method than it is today. There was, the way the economy has been, there have been fluctuations and waves, and there was the thought that this new method would be sufficient for the purpose. But it's important, if you've read through the whereases in this, let's just go through it. How about that? Because I think it's important. Councilmember Reeves, Board Member Reeves? Okay. All right. Whereas, unless the clerk normally reads all these whereases, I don't think you do. Yeah, okay. Beginning in 2001, City Council agreed to split half of the budgeted bed tax with the chamber for the express purpose of providing marketing services on behalf of the community. Well, that's an important thing to consider during all of this. This is slightly different than many cities' chambers of commerce, because they're providing a marketing service on behalf of the community. Whereas in 2002, the City Council began basing the contribution of the chamber of half of the previous full year's actual bed tax collected. And whereas in 2005, the city budget has included an appropriation in the chamber from the second previous full year's bed tax revenue at 50%. And whereas in 2013, the council reaffirmed its intent to have the chamber continue as the lead marketing entity and to continue its intent to annual fund with half the actual bed tax revenue from each second prior year, whereas the city's strategic plan and comprehensive plan clearly state the city's desire to expand the business base and generate year-round employment, and whereas marketing is an important effort that must take place to achieve the goals of attracting new business and industry, supporting growing existing businesses, and increasing customers coming to Seward. And whereas the chamber has experienced professional contacts and ability to provide marketing services for the community and the acumen to focus resources and target specific marketing groups to react to changing markets and demands more efficiently and expertly than PACAB of the city. And whereas in 2021, Seward City Council voted to allocate a flat rate of $300,000 for the fiscal 2023 and 2024 to the Chamber to be reviewed at the next budget cycle. And whereas the Chamber provides monthly updates on activities to PACAB and works collaboratively with business community to promote Seward for year-round travel, such as Seward Winter Weekends, Seward Travel Guide, and Seward Hometown Guide. And whereas the Chamber financially supports and facilitates the Seward Office of Alaska Small Business Development Center located in the Chamber offices and supports business growth and economic development by participating in the collaboration of Alaska Entrepreneurial Week. And whereas PACAB recognizes that fully funding 50% of the bed tax to the Chamber supports coordinated community-wide marketing effort and is critical to the success of the city's economy. Now therefore be it resolved by the Port and Commerce Advisory Board that 1, the Port and Commerce Advisory Board recommends the City Council reinstate the allocation of 50% of the previous year's bed tax to the Seward Chamber of Commerce for marketing service. 2, this recommendation shall be provided to the City Council on the next regular agenda. So the meat of this is the change of funding. And I can't remember exactly, what is 50%? I'd ask Board Member Sutter, if you know what 50% of the previous year's bed tax is roughly?
I don't know off the top of my head what was collected. It would be 2023, I believe, bed tax that was collected, which would be in the city financials. But I think it's around $800,000 or $900,000.
The total?
The total.
You're correct. Yeah, I think you're right.
I remember when it was cut back to $300,000, if the chamber, had received the full 50% funding, they would have received upwards near $400,000 that year, and it was cut back to $300,000.
So I'd speak in favor of this. The chamber has stood out through all this. I don't think they've missed a beat. They've added staff. They've added an enthusiastic staff. They've had innovative projects like the EV station, if you will, and their marketing effort has been stellar. The publications that they put out and the way they transmit them has been, and remember, there are two facets. I'm not going to try to explain it all, maybe Melissa will need to, but there are two facets. There's the marketing wing, and that's what we're talking about. And then there's a general chamber that deals with the business. They're not mixed exactly. They just happen in the same building.
That's correct. The chamber is, as a Chamber of Commerce, is a membership organization, so members do pay for extra benefits or benefits as a chamber member that are not necessarily available to everyone in the community. But the chamber also acts as a destination marketing organization through the contract with the City of Seward to go out and market Seward as a destination and that benefits the entire community, whether they pay for a chamber membership or not. The chamber does have different levels of membership that they offer, so depending on what level of membership a business may purchase or be a part of, their benefits are according to their membership. But as far as marketing Seward as community as a whole, which is what this contract is with the City of Seward, they're out there marketing to bring people into Seward, as the motto is, a great place to work, live, and play. So they talk about, all of the economies in Seward in their marketing efforts. The winter weekends is a great example because that brings people into Seward during the winter, and whether or not you're a chamber member, your business is likely going to benefit if you're open. If you're open in the winter and people are here, you're likely going to benefit from that. The grocery store benefits from it, which of course increases the city's sales tax. So just having that effort, I think is making a big difference. And then of course, their marketing also is is contributing to the bed tax revenue that the city receives.
Where we're at with.
Yeah, this is probably a question for administration. So the bed tax revenue, does that go to the general fund? Is the portion that's, say, not directed to the chamber, assuming it's 100,000 for one way, 4 to the general fund? Yeah, and, okay, so.
Yeah, and I think if you look back at the original, when all this was created, the intent for the other half was to pay for infrastructure, for the impact that tourism is, like the extra users in the community are having, you know, so. Yeah.
One of the really significant issues in this change is this is an incentive program. You know, where there's a lump sum $300,000 pay, you perform a certain service and, you know, you try to make your work match your budget. But with an incentivization, there's an encouragement to increase the bed tax. And hopefully the reality is that as that revenue, as the expense increases, the revenue increases with it. And that can be monitored. That can be monitored. But incentivizing the chamber in this way, it's a great way of doing, great model, and I think that the increased money, which they're probably already coming close to spending anyway, is probably should realistically come from the bed tax. I remember when the bed tax was played with the formulas over the years have been played with, and that it's set at this point today was partly because they wanted to help the chamber. Any other questions, discussion?
A question on one of the whereases on the seventh one, talks about changing markets, and I guess I'd ask for clarification on what that last sentence is saying.
Changing markets and demands more efficiently and expertly than PACAB.
Where that's coming from is there is a changing market in how things are advertised, and so you have new methods of, you know, like for instance social media and Instagram and how the word gets out there, and so anybody can go on social media and post something, but it takes somebody that really has the expertise to know how to get that information out there to where it's seen and can be, you know, retrieved where it needs to be. So
Vice Chair Smith, if I may, I believe that's a typo. I think it should read PACAB or the city.
Okay.
oh yes, that is a typo.
Okay, that helps.
That helps. Yeah, I also, I guess that kind of infers that PACAB is responsible for marketing, and I don't think that's in our purview, so that's kind of how I read that.
Board Member Smith, if I might, as a Port and Commerce Advisory Board, we have had the chamber come to us, come to this board almost as a preview to council for years,
Right.
so that we do have an oversight function as an advisory board. You know, we obviously don't make any decisions for council, but in moving this forward, we're advising them that we think that this change in financial structure is appropriate. So I would encourage, I have encouraged the chamber to come to PACAB with issues to vet. I think Samantha and Cindy and I think Jason have spoke to council a number of times in the past And sometimes only to PACAB, depending upon scheduling. But almost always to PACAB.
Yeah, and part of the contract with the city of Seward is for the chamber to give reports to the city based on, to tell them what they're doing with the marketing funds. And I think that PACAB has asked the chamber to come in and give reports to PACAB, which Samantha has been doing. And then as far as, the city contracted the chamber to be the marketing arm, which is why that whereas is in there, is because the chamber has the resources. That's what they specialize in,
Yeah, I value the input from the chamber to PACAB. That helps the clarification there.
Sounds a little tough. It's a little convoluted. I think it's clear enough.
Okay.
Personally.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
Quick question.
Yeah, sure.
It's the 300,000 that's paid now, does that come from the bed tax money?
Yes.
Do Airbnbs and like VRBO pay bed tax?
If they're doing it legally.
And that's just inside city limits? Or
Correct.
is that?
Yep, and hotels do as well. Hotels.
So
yeah.
inside city limits and hotels?
Yep, all Airbnbs, VRBOs, anyone who's doing that. And I would say too, like the city has, over the last couple of years, the city has paid for software to track Airbnbs, VRBOs, and the technology there is mind-boggling on how good it is. And so we are constantly send out notifications where people either don't have a business license, they don't have inspections, they don't have all these things. And so community development does a really good job monitoring that, so that way we can make sure we don't have people that are skating to ensure the proper collection of that bed tax. So, yeah.
Thank you.
As long as you brought it up, is the bed tax predicated on a charge after sales tax?
I think we have its total charge, like, let's say $100, and both the bed tax and the sales tax are calculated on top of that. They're not like, it's not a...
On the $100, so.
On the $100, so the bed tax would be like, you'd be paying 4%, $4 for the things, and then you'd have the borough and city sales tax that would go on that, but they're not on top of each other.
So it would be like.
It means you calculate both off the $100, you don't calculate one off of the 107 and one off the 104 type of thing, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Okay, any other questions? So, call for the vote, please.
Calling for the vote for the approval of resolution 2024-002. Broom,
Yes.
Scudder,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Regis,
Yes.
Atwood,
Yes.
and Chair Jaffa.
Yes.
That resolution has been approved.
Thank you. We have no other new business. In informational items, we have a reminder of meetings. October 16th, we have a work session on Harbor Uplands Development. I don't know if the Harbor Master wants to comment on that.
Not at this time.
Okay. You'll be ready for us? Okay. And we have a regular meeting on November 6th, and I'm not sure exactly what that agenda will be. Somewhere along the line, we should have election of officers. For future officers.
January.
Huh?
Comes in January, I believe.
January? Okay.
Select the chair and vice chair, that'll be January.
Yeah.
That's when you were selected as chair.
Let's see, the clock is 1:14. Okay. Citizen comments, again, we don't have anyone in the audience, so we'll run that back to the board, and we'll start with Board Member Regis.
I don't have nothing too much, just enjoyed another nice day out there.
Very nice. We'll bounce over to Board Member Groom.
The newsletter is amazing. Definitely like getting information out to the community without a newspaper. It's very, very difficult. I've struggled finding information online myself. but definitely going to subscribe to the newsletter. And hopefully council will fully fund the chamber, continue their great work. And looking forward to the work session on the uplands parking, because they took our fishing spot away from me. And that used to be the prime fishing spot for residents here. And so yeah, looking forward to all that.
Okay. Board Member Sutter.
Yeah, I just want to thank the city clerk and city manager, executive assistant for your presentations. They were great. It was great to see a little bit of how to navigate. I've been on the city website off and on, and learning how to navigate it can be a little bit challenging, so I appreciate that. I like that subscriptions option. It's nice to not have your email bogged down, so other than I know as a packet member we're going to get those packets, but great presentations. The newsletter I think is a great addition, and I'm going to subscribe to that as well. And I just want to thank PACAB for the support of the Chamber of Commerce. I know that that's hopefully will be helpful in influencing the city's decision on what they're going to do with that. So thank you.
Okay. Board Member Ratliff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, again, presentations by the executive assistant and the city clerk, very good. This is great. This newsletter. It's wonderful to have a good source of information like that. There's no shortage of information. There's a lot of it out there. So it's nice that the municipality is providing something the public can look on as factual and timely. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chair Smith.
Thank you. Yeah, I echo the sentiments about the improvements in the city webpage. I used it today and was able to find what I needed immediately. I also recently used the building permit process, and that was very, very smooth and easy to use and understand. So those are all great things that enable commerce in the city to continue smoothly. Also with the chamber, I was just thinking, I've known that organization through 4 directors now, and they've always been fast, nimble, quick, extremely professional. I think it's a big part of why we see the continued growth and success of commerce in this town. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, well, I will second or triple down and say our clerk and assistant, the executive assistant have done a great job with this, and thank you for bringing it to us, and keep up the good work. I think it's a further demonstration with administration and the staff that the city is looking forward. It's got an energetic core that cares about the city, and from this day forward, we have a great future if we work at it, and it looks like we've got the tools in place, or putting tools in place. I'll comment briefly that I was part of a town hall meeting the other night that did talk about topics in a broad sense affecting the community. But one of the things that I made in a citizen comment, which I learned recently by watching a documentary on Benjamin Franklin. He was a brilliant man, flawed like everyone, but one of the things he said was that our form of government, the democracy that he helped draft, required the participation and input of the common man. That it was not a system to be managed by the elite. And that elite may be economic or political elite or whatever, but it requires participation at the grassroots level. And I would encourage everyone on this board to attend council meetings as much as you can. I know this is a great contribution you already made, but council meetings are a great place to present ideas, support even things that PACAP did, and spread that to the community as well. And personally, I don't think you have as much standing to complain if you haven't participated. you still have a right to complain, no matter what. Okay, that's all I got for today. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. Okay, motion and a second, and all in favor? Of adjourning? Yes?
Yes.
Yes? Yes? Okay, we're adjourned.